We can now bring in Elizaveta Osetinskaya, exiled Russian journalist now based in the south of France. Thank you very much for joining us here on France 24. You are also the CEO of The Bell, which is a website in English and Russian on Russian news. So great to have you on the program today. What was it like for you working within the media landscape in Russia?
Thank you for having me here today. I think it's very important for me to speak on behalf of all Russian media in exile, because there are many of us, there are over 30 media outlets working from exile today, trying to reach audience in Russia and say the truth. And this is very important that we keep going and trying to inform Russian readers, viewers, and so on, to understand what happens in Russia, what happens in Ukraine, to tell truth about war in Ukraine and facts, and fight misinformation. And it has changed significantly from last year when the war started, because previously we were more about business, doing our own stuff, and today we more united by our mission. Which is really, really important, more than in early days.
But Elizaveta, if I could jump in there, what changed in the media landscape over the past year? Because in terms of the World Press Freedom Index, Russia has slipped within the past year from 155 to 164. So what has changed? Is it terms of how the invasion is spoken about? What exactly has changed?
I give you a few examples. For example, in a couple of days after the war started, 24th of February of 2022, number of very important media, established media like Moscow Echo, Novaya Gazeta, worldwide known names, they were completely blocked in Russia. TV Rain was blocked in Russia. The Bell was blocked in Russia. Medusa, very advanced media outlets, online publication, very large one, was called hostile organization in Russia. So, in fact, this is illegal for Russian people to deal with Medusa, to support if they want to donate to Medusa. So this is unprecedented level of pressure and isolation of Russian people from truth and information. I'm observing this landscape, Russian media landscape, since I started working as journalist in 1997, and I have to tell you, it became unprecedentedly bad today, and field is almost empty. It's very hard for Russian people to receive truthful information today.
I want to talk about you specifically because you were declared a foreign agent in April 2022. Why?
It's a good question. Formally, I received revenues from Google because I have my YouTube channel that has about 400,000 subscribers. So we got some advertisement revenues from Google, and technically it's illegal. So if you have dollars in your pocket given by advertisers from all over the world, you can be called for an agent. So afterwards, soon after that, Google closed Russian advertisement. So people don't watch advertisement in Russia when they're watching YouTube. But outside of Russia, still there are some ads, and we receive some revenues, and it's not legal actually.
You mentioned that the Bell, which is the website you run, is both in Russian and in English, and your aim, besides informing Russians outside of Russia about what's going on in the country, your aim is to also inform users in Russia what's going on in the country. How do you do that without being blocked? And secondly, how do you target older Russians who I'd assume would get most of their information from state media?
You asked three different questions. I'm trying to answer step by step. First, initially, we were a newsletter. So we started as newsletter publication, and it turned to be very safe for people because our website technically is blocked in Russia. But people consider to receive information from us via email, via Telegram channel, via YouTube, and that's how we still reach the audience. Answering about English language newsletter, we started with doing the bell in two languages because we wanted to inform our audience about key facts that international audience needs to know about Russia. It's not we don't cover like everything. We only cover the most important facts and news about Russia that international public should know. And we focus on business and economy. It's our specific because I used to be editor at Forbes, and this is my specialty to work about to tell people about business and economy, and for business and this advanced decision making audience. And talking about state media and propaganda, I don't have good answer here, and I think nobody has, because it's really hard to fight with propaganda and state media because they have huge, enormous resources. And we all together, all our over 30, 40 media in exile, they're still quite small publications made by people without state support. So it's quite complicated, but we are trying, and I think we are smarter, we are more alive, and truth is on our side, what is the most important.
Last year, in the first few days after the war broke out, we saw a lot of young urban Russians taking to the streets, actually from many cities across the country, taking to the streets. Clearly, they get their news and information from different places. Where do younger Russians inside the country, where are they informed from?
It's a very good question. Thank you for that. I think they take a lot of information from YouTube. And the fact that YouTube is still free to watch in Russia is crucial for fighting misinformation and disinformation. Despite the fact that state media and state propaganda also has representation in YouTube, but this is the most massive channel to address population. But also other populations like apps, Telegram, which is also popular. Telegram, I think, became more popular in Russia than Facebook used to be before it was blocked and called extremist organization. So Telegram app is a very important media today, and all media, all journalists who produce content, almost everyone uses Telegram to spread the information. And those youngsters you are talking about, I think they find their way to information. The problem is that many Russians had to leave Russia also to avoid mobilization and going to the war. And it's also extremely dangerous today to protest against the war and against the regime. It's very different from 2019, 2018, when it was about to no consequences when you protest. Today, it's almost forbidden, so it's very hard.
It's interesting that you mentioned YouTube is used as a source to inform young people about what's going on inside Russia, because YouTube and such channels in other parts of the world have been accused of spreading misinformation, like if you look at countries like India and the United States, for instance.
Absolutely. It's a paradox, but in one hand, YouTube is free. I mean, propaganda media also use YouTube to share misinformation, but important that free media are able to use YouTube. And for us, it's very important that Google and YouTube would not let Russian government to block them and continue to share free information with Russian population, because it's the only massive channel where people can not only read but also view. And giving that state television, all television in Russia is under control. There is no single channel with satellite that you can find that distributes non-propaganda video. So that's why it's very important to keep YouTube free and to distribute information through the YouTube. Yes, that's right. There are some misinformation on the West, but Russia has its own, very specific case today.
Elizaveta, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the program today.